Billy McKinney is a farmer in the Delta region of central Mississippi. He has 11 square kilometers of land. 2/3 are planted with cotton and soybeans. But he also has another crop in production. In 23 ponds, ranging in size from 2 to 16 hectares, McKinney is raising catfish. Aquaculture is becoming a major business, a growing contribution to the world's food supply. The story begins here, harvesting the seed for a future crop. Each spring, female catfish, kept in brood ponds, produce one egg mass called a spawn. The spawn is carefully moved to the hatchery, where the water is aerated to penetrate the mass, moving it back and forth much as the male fish would. In 5 days, the embryos develop eyes and begin to hatch. These are siphoned out to be weighed and counted and put into troughs of warm water. Three days later, they become swim-ups or fry. These are fed by hand in the hatchery tanks and grow into fingerlings. If McKinney's fish don't reproduce enough, he must buy stock, which is how he got started 10 years ago. A neighbor was selling fingerlings. McKinney had 16 hectares of unplanted farmland. He was interested. The fingerlings now going into this development pond will be fed by hand 4 times a day, and in a year will grow to 15 centimeters. Raising fish, like any crop, has problems. The water, like the soil, must be inspected. The flat, moist land is ideal for building ponds, but McKinney must be alert to the hazards of algae and bacteria. His assistant checks the oxygen levels of each pond twice a day, for the fish must have oxygen to survive. To grow, his fish need food, and in the late afternoon, every day of the growing season but Sunday, Billy McKinney loads feed into his airplane. In an hour and a half, he will put out 2,300 kilos of floating feed. Aerial feeding ensures an even distribution over the surface of his ponds and the growth of a more uniform size fish. The water boils with fish coming to the surface in response to the sound of the plane. It takes approximately 2 years to raise catfish to a marketable size. After the first season, the fingerlings are graded by size, divided up to about 6,000 head per hectare, and put in production ponds to grow. Fish farming is good economics. Fish are raised faster than in the wild, and production investments are acceptable, considering the demand for the product. A crop of 7,000 kilos of channel catfish will be harvested from this pond. Currently, the United States raises 65,000 metric tons of seafood annually. Still, America has a way to go to equal the output of some of the 43 countries actively engaged in aquaculture. These catfish will be processed, packed, and shipped to markets in the South and Midwest. Billy McKinney's sunflower catfish farms have grown tenfold in a decade. The supply of ocean fish is diminishing. Consumer demand is accelerating. Business is looking good. Major corporations are investing in scientific research and experimental production facilities for shrimp, lobster, and salmon. Aquaculture appeals to industry because it permits the production of huge quantities of protein per hectare in a palatable and nutritious form. Universities also are involved in research, trying to accelerate the growth of shellfish and enable shrimp to spawn in captivity. Much of this activity is being coordinated with help from the federal government Sea Grant program. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization estimates that aquaculture can produce as much fish as are presently caught on the high seas. Billy McKinney has found a new crop with great future potential for the farmer, for industry, for the world.